Alright guys, so I'm going to do a demo of our project for today. We are going to be doing Van Gogh's Starry Night, but we are going to be doing marbling, and we're using shaving cream to do our marbling. So your supplies are going to be a tin full of shaving cream, which I have already smoothed out for you. You will have a couple different colors of blue, yellow, a brown, one of these skewer sticks, and then a squeegee, which is here. And there should be a pile of paper towels for you. You will definitely need those. So what you are going to do first is grab your blues. Make sure they're shaken up real well. Just 2 or 3 shakes will do it for you. Now, I would do about 3 drops of each color blue. Absolutely no more than 5. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your different colors of blue. You should not do more than 5 drops of each color. The light blue isn't going to show up quite as much on the shaving cream, but it will show up on your paper whenever you're done. And I'm almost out of my light blue here at home, but we have lots of it at school. So you're just going to kind of randomly place this around here. Now, the important thing as we start to lay our yellow down for our stars is to remember, even though we're doing Starry Night, which you can see on your screen right now, you have to do it in reverse, because whenever you lay out down your paper and you pull it back up, everything is going to be backwards. So we're actually going to flip Starry Night around here, and that's what it's going to look like. So instead of the moon being over on the right hand side, we're actually going to put the yellow for the moon over on the right hand side. And then there are a lot of stars. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's like maybe 9, 10 stars. You only need to do about 3 other drops in about the places where the stars are, and then I'll show you how we can kind of spread that around. If you do a drop for every star, there's going to be too much. So you're going to end up having 3 drops anywhere for stars and 1 drop for your moon. The next thing you're going to do is grab your skewer. There's a pointy end and a flat end. It does not matter which end you use. The important part is whenever you stick it down into your shaving cream, it needs to be perpendicular with the table. Remember, that means it's intersecting at a 90-degree angle. And you want the end of your skewer touching your tray. You want to keep it touching the tray the whole time. So here's what we do. You start and you drag your skewer through the drops. I'm just going to kind of go around here a little bit to get it started. So we're just kind of spreading that blue around. If you find that you didn't get quite enough, remember I said maximum of 5 drops each, so I only did 3 drops of each. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 more in of the medium blue, maybe 2 more of the light blue. All right. And drag back through those just to kind of get your swirls going. And when we're thinking about Starry Night, usually we think about the swirl going this direction, but remember we're doing it backwards, so our swirl is going to go this direction. So that's what I'm going to start working on, is my big swirl. And I go into the center and I pick up and I come back. If you go back and forth, it's going to get real muddy looking and it's not going to turn out. So I've got my swirl started here, and then that swirl comes out of there and into another swirl. So we're going to come around like this and make a second swirl. So think of a swirl kind of like a snail. So now we have our 2 swirls, and we can just go ahead and mix these blue, the rest of the blue into the background, make kind of just any design you want, really. There's not going to be a right or wrong. Whenever you go into your yellow, I would take a paper towel and wipe all that shaving cream off. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a bunch of green. And I'm just taking my yellow for my stars and doing kind of little swirls. And then, remember I said we don't need quite as many drops as there are stars, just get some yellow on the tip of your skewer and you can just put it in and make some smaller stars in different places. Okay. So we'll do that. And then the moon is usually a big C, but remember again we're going backwards, so I'm going to go make it backwards C. Just like that. I have a couple thicker places of blue, so I'm going to go back through those because if not, they'll end up kind of smearing when we're all done. Okay, so that is basically our sky. Everyone's sky is going to look different, but that's the basis that's going to make it look the most like Starry Night. Now we're going to do the bottom or the foreground last. So there's the big, I don't know if it's a mountain or a tree, whatever Van Gogh was painting. We're going to do about 3 drops of brown for that. And then if you want, you can use a really dark blue. We're not going to use black though. I tried doing a sample with black and it just doesn't quite look right. So we're going to use a couple drops of blue and brown for that. And then we'll have the bottom, the town. There's lots of different colors in it, but in ours we're just going to make it brown and blue because those are the colors we're working with today. So the mountain figure, again, just remember you need to go backwards with it. So I'll start swirling my colors up through here. I'll have the tall part to the right and the shorter part to the left. And you can experiment with how you want your colors to swirl. And then for our little town down here, you don't actually have to draw buildings. You can just kind of make little swirls and it'll end up looking like buildings. I'm just giving it the idea of some buildings. And then there's the church in his. And the church steeple goes up, so I'm just going to make one streak maybe going up. One last thing which I forgot to add in earlier is he has that extra swirl of lighter blue and yellow coming through, so I'll go ahead and do that now too. Okay, so I went ahead and I finished doing all my swirling and my design. The next thing you're going to do is grab your piece of paper. You're going to lay it straight down on top of your foam. You're going to press it very lightly and then give it a little rub, but I'm not pressing hard and I'm not like making the paper go back and forth or that'll smear it. So I'm holding the paper with one hand and I'm rubbing back and forth on the other. I want to make sure I get the whole thing rubbed so it's touching the shaving cream. Like so. And then we will pick it up. Now pick it up very slowly, because if you find as you're picking it up that there was a spot, maybe there was an air bubble and the shaving cream didn't hit, you can slowly put it back down and rub just that little spot. And it's not going to look very pretty, as you can see when you're peeling it up. It looks like, oh, that's not going to turn it out at all. And that's okay. So I've peeled it up. You will have wax paper laying in front of you. You'll lay it down on your wax paper. And you want to wait about 3 minutes before you do the next step. So in that 3 minutes, you're going to do 2 prints today. So in that 3 minutes, you're going to do your next print. And you're just going to use this same mess of colors that we've already started, and you're going to do the same thing again. You might not have to add quite as much paint, because you're doing it a second time. So there's already a bunch of paint in there, and that paint will transfer again. So I'm going to hurry up and I'm going to do a second one, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Done the sky. Remember, once again, you have to do everything in reverse. I was able to use some of the yellow that was there, and then I put a couple new drops of yellow. And then the other thing I wanted to remind you is not to overwork it. You don't want it to get muddy. And see, this is probably too thick right in here, so I'm going to go back into that very carefully so that it's not that big thick glob. And then once you've done your sky for the second time, then you can go in and do your foreground. But remember, you have to do it in those steps or it won't turn out right. My second print, I've done everything in reverse. I'm going to lay my paper down again. Try to press it down all over. Use one hand to hold it in place. The other hand to gently, very gently press this down. And you can kind of start to see paper looks wet whenever it's ready and you've gotten all the edges. So you can tell if you've gotten to the end or not. Remember, you need to peel it up very slowly. It might be kind of messy, and if you see a spot that doesn't have foam, you can still take a second and press it down. Now, it won't always be covered in a ton of foam, but you don't want to have like big globs like that have no paint, no nothing. So you can press that down again. Alright, peeling it up. Like here there's not a lot of foam, but I can see paint on it, so that's my goal. That'll be okay. Alright, and then you'll lay that on your wax paper. So by the time you've finished your second print, I'm going to put this to the side now, your first print will be ready to swipe. So you're going to go in one direction only. You're going to hold at the side, and you're going to go, notice the squeegee is just about the same size as your paper, so that's the way you're going to run your squeegee. You'll hold it above the squeegee. You're pressing down firmly, but not hard enough that you would tear your wet paper. And you're going to scrape all that extra foam off, and it's going to show your marbling underneath. Okay. Now, if you missed any foam, do not go back and start scraping with all this foam on there. You're going to need to clean this off. There's going to be a bin in the middle of the table. You're going to take your paper towel and just swipe that down, clean all that foam off there. Make sure your squeegee's nice and dry before you try to swipe it again. But that is an example of a print, and I've done several of them. So let me show you. This first couple I just tried the sky. Now this got a little muddy because I overworked it. This was the second print I did off that, and you can tell the swirls really came out a lot better. And here's one with the whole thing. Remember, you don't have to do the buildings. It just kind of ends up looking like buildings if you squiggle back and forth a little bit. Now you'll notice this streak right here. I swiped this direction and I had a big clump of dark blue paint, so that ended up smearing across. This one was a second print, but I didn't swirl it enough, so it ended up just being a bunch of muddy, and then I had two big globs of paint. So make sure you're watching out for globs of paint. These were like my learning process, so learn from my mistakes. And then that's the one we just did. And then we'll take about 1 more minute, and then I'll scrape the last one, and I'll show it to you, and then you'll be ready to get going. Okay, this is my final print. I made sure I used a clean squeegee. I held up at the top and I pressed firmly to scrape it, but not too hard that I would rip my wet paper. When you are done with your second print, you need to call me over. I will refoam your tray so that your partner can go ahead and do their 2 prints. So that'll be it for today. We'll get started on those this afternoon. Go ahead and enjoy your program, and I'll see you in a little bit.